Oh look, we don't have a lot of time. We got to get to the jungle. Welcome back, fellow time travelers and comic book aficionados. We're going to take a break from the present and travel to 1948 and 1949 to the jungle, to the safari, to the thick vegetation where a lot of action takes place, and we're going to explore books by Fiction House and Dell Comics and more. So grab your hat and let's go into the jungle. Whoa, watch out for those tigers. You never know where they're lurking about. This first book packs a wallop, and it's Jungle Comics number 107. Beautiful yellow cover featuring Sheena, the Queen of the Jungle, from January of 1948. An iconic character graced on this cover with the panthers roaming in the background. It is truly a delight. Joe Doolin cover did a lot of these covers for Fiction House, and the artwork is amazing, many years ago. Opening up the splash page and being careful here, we have Sheena and the action unfolding, just loving the colors, the contrast, and the artwork. And something about the 1940s had a very unique charm, especially with the layouts and the drawing and illustration. It always created a sense of wonder and fun. And if you're a comic collector like I am, it's always the thrill of the hunt, seeing these really nice splash pages and artwork, and just knowing that these books will be a thrill. Check out the layout of this comic. With all the twists and turns, we have Sheena going from frame to frame. This is credited to Matt Baker and Jack Heyman for creating these awesome layouts. You can see the action unfolding as if you're watching a movie, and Fiction House did it best with their series such as Wing, Planet Comics, and this one here, Jumbo Comics. They're always a thrill, and they're always great titles to pick up because you knew that the panels, the layouts, and of course getting some Matt Baker artwork is great. Beginning on our safari journey, Jumbo Comics does not disappoint. Jumping from Jumbo Comics, we're going to go to Jungle Comics in the year 1948 with this February issue featuring Kaanga and a beautiful elephant cover and the action going on right there. Another Fiction House publication, and this time the artwork is by John Solardo. I love the top border here. You see the red and the oranges fading in with the black, and then a brightness of the yellow on the bottom 3/4 of the cover shows you the action that Fiction House typically brings. I'm glad to have this copy. Great, worthwhile to time travel and fetch as we look at these great jungle comics. The splash page is really fun. We have Kaanga here trying to subdue the beastly animal. We have the lady frightened, and then also the signature, John Solardo, right on the bottom here, as well as some of the offerings that Fiction House had to bring, including Planet Comics, Fight Comics, Jumbo, and Rangers Comics, all of which defined the golden age and were some of the more premium books that had to be offered. Again, the layouts are very exquisite and fun. You see the action unfolding. You know you're in a different world in the jungle with the artwork there. Looking at that bird flying, that's really neat to see. Even all the tension and action unfolding page after page in this issue right here. Another great cover, Jungle Comics 110 in 1949. In this book, we also have Tales of Wambi, the Jungle Boy. And again, the stories and animals and the greenery in the background, you know you're in for a good treat. Story by Taboo is also in the pages right there, and you can see some of that action happening there. So a delight of a variety of different stories is featured in Jungle Comics, not just Kaanga, and it always brings the reader back to catch up on some fun tales. In the same month and year of February 1949, where we saw Jungle Comics, we also have Nyoka, the Jungle Girl. This came out side by side on the newsstand if you were looking around in that year in February. And look at the orange cover right there. This is by Fawcett publication, and it's very fun, and you have the rhinoceros charging and Nyoka hiding behind the tree to avoid the running of the rhino there. Great opening page in this Fawcett publication right there. We have a circle featuring the tiger pouncing right there, and the action just unfolds right away. Look at this great artwork, all the dynamic movements, the jumping movement of the animals and people, a truly unique book. And Nyoka is always ready to fight and take on the action. As you can see here, she's punching away on the bottom, swinging on some of the tree branches, and hiding from the onlookers below in this really fun action-packed page right there. She doesn't quit, and she keeps on going, and just amazing artwork that we enjoy from this Fawcett publication. Look at the shadows in the background. And look at that mighty punch, because this book packs a punch, as we have Nyoka, the Jungle Girl, right there. Those two ladies, Sheena and Nyoka, really know how to hold their own. What about the fellows? Where are they? Well, it's 1949, and we have an iconic character that we all know as Tarzan. Tarzan of the Jungle. This is from Dell publication, number 9. And here we have a kind of a cover that's mentoring in a way. It's by Mo Golub, and the illustration is on point. You could see the hatching, the contrast. The greenery of the trees looks so real as the sun is shining upon them, and just great. Even the back cover, as I go from here, you see here a warrior with a sword tucked away there, and he's ready for the action there, in this great Dell illustrated comic book. This Dell book features the artwork of Jesse Marsh, and we can see here some nice scenery, almost like you're watching a movie. You can see the shadows, the sunlight, and of course the fearsome animals rushing too. In this book, The Men of Allure is the story. And you can see even the animal fights between the elephant right there and the looks to be a kind of like a triceratops, all going on there. Is there mixing of the jungle and prehistoric elements here? It looks like it. And here we have the men talking about in this great Tarzan adventure of issue number 9. That was June of 1949. In July of 1949, we have a different character to give Tarzan a break, and that is Jungle Jim, with this cover right here. And this is by Standard Comics. They also had a few titles out there, and these adventures were a lot of fun. Jungle Jim kind of had a savvy way of finding and completing his missions. He was almost like a detective mixed in with Tarzan, with the Phantom, all in one. And this adventure is going to be great to unfold. Let's appreciate the cover first, as it's Paul Norris artwork. He's known for working with Dell Comics and Flash Gordon. He also has a cover here for Standard Comics with this giant oyster clam. Looks like is biting down on her foot. I hope she's okay, as she's wrestling underwater to get free. Of course, Jungle Jim is there, so you know the outcome will be a favorable one. But this is some really neat action in this 10-cent book right here, featuring great artwork. Jungle Jim always finds himself in some exotic locales, and he's also working with different locals to get information and to solve the problem. And look at right there, the splash page in the artwork looks like she's being freed from the grasp of the clam there. The artwork really stretches from page to page. We have in the water, the ship in the background, the fashion and styles of the locale. Just loving the fashion there. And even working with the people just to get things done. Just a lot of great artwork, It's just scene after scene. Even the nature and the wildlife stands out in these books right here. So a lot of care was taken to capture the jungle and the animals, and even the people too. As we see the colors and divisions of the panels, everything just jumps out, and you don't know who's going to be lurking at the next corner. Are they a good guy or a bad guy, or a friend helping pass a canoe along? We'll have to see. In Jungle Gym, Mystery Island, issue number 13 from Standard Comic. Just like we're swinging on some vines in the jungle, let's swing from Standard Comics back to Fiction House right here with this issue of Jungle Comics featuring Kaanga and Camilla in issue number 117. Another great cover we have here. And if you're growing up in the late 40s, this is post-World War II, you can bet that a lot of newsstands had Jungle Comics and Safari. Also, later on in the 50s and 60s, as you time travelers know, we'll get into space and actions in the stars. But we're keeping it on the planet Earth with these great covers right here in the jungle. And just like the one we saw before, I love the border, this time with the blue hues and tints, and yellow on the bottom, 3/4 of the cover, featuring the artwork right there. See the elephant, people in the basket as they're being carried. You see the leopard on the bottom, the lady just trying to avoid her leg being bitten. And of course, have no fear, we have Kaanga ready with a bow and arrow to defend anybody that strikes. So great action here. We're still in the year 1949, the month of September, as that last one we saw was in July. So let's look and see what goodness is in here. The splash page has Kaanga right there. We have some of the interesting exotic locals jumping on board. Kaanga and Camilla are always on top of the elephant, knowing where to go. Just look at that artwork. Look at the detail, the etching. Even the person's face right there, you can see the scarf, the collar, the turban. You see the animals moving. You have Camilla right there. So the artwork is really jumping off the page. And all the colors too. The colors are really vivid and bright. And this is very typical of Fiction House because they produce some very premium books and also had some other stories. Captain Theory Thunder, moving away from some of the jungle theme, we have more of like the Sierra Leone and the Moroccan out area right here. So different stories including Taboo, some other ones too, introduction of animals in the world, because this is a safari, and you can see some of that artwork right there. So some activities mixed with stories. And the final story right there with Taboo, it's always amazing. The expressions on the characters, the colors, the positioning of the frame, and even the trees in the backdrop make for this jungle comic book a great one, and one of the classics that was offered. The cover was said to be created by the Iger Shop. Iger Shop had a group of artists working together to create, but it could also be Maurice Whitman. The next book I want to show you is a Maurice Whitman cover from Charlton Comics, and again it's Nyoka. And it's interesting to note that these could both be by Maurice Whitman. The distinctive style, the shading, and the line weight is very similar in both. So the book here, Nyoka, actually is from 1957, a decade and a half later than this one here, and we still have Maurice Whitman producing artwork. And this is a great yellow cover. I know the Captain Strangeliffe, is always a fan of these yellow covers, and this jungle cover is no exception here. Just loving the tall grass and vegetation on the bottom, the locals kind of surrounding Nyoka, the jungle girl, and to see what story unfolds. Right there we have the comic authority code being introduced now because we're in the late 50s that we didn't see before. So this means that the action has to be a little bit more tame. There's less like struggle and knives and blood and gore being shown in these books. And the story continues here. Especially here with this splash pages, we have some safari seekers, and sometimes the good guys end up being the bad guys and draw a gun, and you never know who to trust. Nyoka is a compassionate character and hero, as she always looks after the wildlife in the jungle and even talks and reasons with mankind to be fair and good to all. If you find yourself stranded in 1957 or the late 50s for that matter, and you're looking through some Charlton books, be sure to check out Nyoka, the Jungle Girl, as there's some really great stories. Originally from Fawcett Publications, she made her way to Charlton Comics, and just some great stories and some phenomenal covers right here too that make for the stories a lot of fun. Well, folks, we have time for one last book, so let's tune that time machine dial to 1965. We know that Sheena was the queen of the jungle, and Nyoka was the jungle girl. What about the king? Well, we have here Toka, Jungle King, featured in Dell Comics, and this beautiful painted cover right here, where we have the crocodile in the background, and of course Toka wielding a spear down and looking upon the attacker. So great, beautiful artwork right there in the second issue of Toka, the Jungle King, and it's just fun to see this type of artwork. What I enjoy most about this comic book is you open it up, you have a map to kind of situate you where you are, which we haven't really seen in some of the other books. And here we find ourselves in Laos and present-day Vietnam, and you see the thick foliage and trees and the topography and even some of the ancient ruins that you would see in this jungle-covered city. Then we're right into it right there as we have Toka ready to go. And just some great artwork, just like we've been seeing with Tarzan and Sheena, just the topography and the landscape. To be an artist, to recreate the canopies in the sky, the tall grass, it's amazing. And they do such a good job of it, including some elements of the wind and what looks to be the lightning in the sky, as we have nature, a force to be reckoned with. So thinking about heroes and fighting superpowers and one-on-one mystical abilities and things like that, we have nature at its finest, and man in his raw form fighting away. And it's just great stories to tell, usually about being good and justice to local tribesmen and people, trying to rid parts of the jungle of corruption, and even saving a lady in distress right there. So we see time and again from 1948 to 1949, even here in 1965, some of the jungle goodness of the characters. We have Toka here negotiating with some of the locals and taking some fire there, even stopping some spears approaching them. So this book is great if you ever get into this series with Dell. Great painted covers and a series of them too. And the interior artwork is by Frank Springer for most of the series. Toka, Jungle King. That wraps up our comic safari as we jump from vine to vine, comic to comic, starting in 1948 to 1965. A truly great theme in comic book history. A lot of great artists such as Joe Doolin right here with this cover, and also Maurice Whitman. Also this cover right here by Ferragasso. Just some great themes to come in mind, and a lot of adventure and fun that leaves to the imagination even more. So thank you for watching Time Travel Comics here, and we'll see you in the past.